As the chants and rally cries echo across the world, psychologists are warning that the mental drain on the individuals protesting racial injustice can last long after the demonstrations are over.
It adds to the reality that many African Americans experience in terms of their blackness and how they're often perceived as being, targets.
Psychologist Dr. Erlanger Turner says it doesn't matter if you're at the protests or watching them unfold online.
Even a peaceful rally might be psychologically draining and take a psychological toll on the body. When it gets to things that may sort of escalate, whether it's having incidents where police are like pointing guns at individuals, or even if it ends to like shooting them with pellets or whatever, then that leads individuals to potentially be at a much higher risk of trauma reaction symptoms such as PTSD.
It's hurting us as people. It's hurting.
Protesting can cause a person to have a strong emotional reaction that builds up in the body, leading to symptoms like difficulty sleeping.
One thing that we know from research is that when you are triggered by these types of images, and not just with police shootings, but any type of traumatic event, is that you begin to have these increases in blood pressure and heart rate and all those breathing difficulties. And so you may notice those sort of physiological changes in your body when you watch those videos. And then what happens if you don't know what to do with that?
I know it's emotional. I'm emotional every day because it's what I do.
There's also something called social and racial battle fatigue. Psychologist Dr. Candace Nicole Hargens tells Newsy. Those impacts can include exhaustion, depression, or anxious feelings.
People who are engaged in protests or activism movements and having to be constantly on the front lines or constantly engaged, feeling just worn out physically, emotionally, spiritually, worn out after a while because the work doesn't end. And so there's always something to do.
Experts say that for protesters, managing their mental health can come in the form of self-care, soul care, or collective care. Things like taking a break for a day, meditation, therapy, or journaling. They recommend avoiding activities that can lead to numbing any anger or pain instead of processing it.
You don't want to do too much numbing, and that's anything that has binge associated with it. Binge drinking, binge Netflixing, or binge YouTubing, binge shopping. All of the binging things are numbing. You're basically trying not to feel something, whereas self-care is enriching your physical or mental space. So perhaps you're at a protest and that feels like collective care to you because you're doing something about the racism that you're experiencing. So all of those are different levels of how you take good care of yourself and sustain yourself.
Lindsay Thies, Newsy, Denver.